There's a certain type of Fire Emblem character that the series produces again and again. The ones who look unremarkable, who join late, or who get overshadowed by flashier options. Characters who players dismiss as filler or bench without a second thought. But sometimes, those units hide more potential than we realize. They aren't always glamorous, but they can be quietly effective, even indispensable, if given the chance. Today, I want to look at a handful of those units who have built reputations as jokes or as afterthoughts, but who reveal something deeper about the series when you actually stop and use them. These are the best Fire Emblem units you're not using. First up today is Beowolf from Genealogy of the Holy War. Beowolf embodies one of Fire Emblem's oldest design philosophies, competence hidden beneath a plain exterior. He isn't a holy blood prodigy, he doesn't come with unique skills, and his recruitment is even a literal transaction. 10,000 gold for a mounted mercenary. For most players, he blends into the background, another sword on another horse. But Beowolf is actually quite good for being just a stat block. His bases are strong enough to hold up immediately, his growths keep him relevant, and, most importantly, he has a horse. And in Genealogy, movement is everything. More than that, Beowulf's true value comes in inheritance. Pair him with Lachesis, and suddenly her children gain both balance in their growths and an edge in combat and survivability. Beowulf may not be the backbone of your army, but he's certainly better than a lot of people think. He's never going to carry like Sigurd or Lewin, but he gives you stability, flexibility, and a foundation to build on. He's proof that sometimes the best contributions aren't flashy, they're reliable. Next up is Knoll. Knoll is one of the most dismissed units in Sacred Stones. He joins late, underleveled, and frail. On paper, he looks like dead weight. And yet, Knoll has the potential to be one of the most useful units in your army. This is because he's able to immediately promote into a summoner, the chapter after he joins. And summoning is, simply put, one of the most broken mechanics in Fire Emblem. Phantoms can block choke points, bait enemies, absorb killing blows, or even water walk. They cost only a single turn to summon, which Knoll likely won't be using for anything but summoning them anyway. And they're completely expendable. Sacrificing them just means you can summon another one the very next turn. With Knoll, you gain a tool that can single-handedly trivialize maps if you use it creatively. This ability means Knoll doesn't need to dominate combat to justify his place. His role is utility, and he plays it better than almost anyone thanks to both his summoning ability and access to low-level staves and 1-2 range in dark magic to pick up the occasional kill. Knoll is often criticized for his incredibly low luck, often leading to him being crit by enemies. But the truth is, he's a pretty bonkers unit when used to his fullest potential. He teaches us that Fire Emblem isn't just about stats, it's about the tools a unit brings to the table, and his toolset is extraordinary. Next on our list is Muriel. Muriel is easy to overlook in Awakening. In a cast filled with larger-than-life personalities and with Robin's dominance overshadowing every magic user, she rarely stands out. She's often remembered as the eccentric early-game mage that quickly sees the bench, but when you look at her numbers, Muriel quietly excels. Her magic, skill, and speed growths are among the most consistent in the early game, meaning she'll hit hard and often can double. Class options also allow her to shine, as she can go into Troubadour or promote into Sage for access to stronger healing than both Lisa and Maribel. She also gains access to Sorcerer, meaning she can access one of the premier Awakening strategies of Nosferatu tanking. She isn't the strongest character in Awakening, but she doesn't need to be. Her reliability makes her invaluable. She will always be good enough, always hit hard enough, and always be able to provide support. Muriel shows us that sometimes being consistently solid is more than enough. Next up we have Arthur, who's a bit of a paradox. On the one hand, he's a meme, the unlucky superhero whose luck stat is so bad it feels like the game is laughing at you. On the other hand, he's one of Conquest's strongest damage dealers in the early game. His strength growth is outstanding, and even though his luck drags his hit rates down and he has an alarming tendency to eat critical hits, he can be a potent force in your early roster. But his usefulness doesn't end after a few chapters. When raised, he can become one of the most consistent backup partners for your units. Arthur promotes into a berserker. being the earliest unit in Conquest who can reach this class. Once he promotes, he can provide the absolutely incredible pair-up bonuses of +5 strength and +3 speed. This is more than enough to keep any unit he pairs up with statistically relevant, with slower units often hitting hard enough to only need to hit once or even not risking a second attack. Faster units have it even better, often passing over the threshold they need to double with a little extra oomph as well. And then there's his son to consider. Percy is one of the best child units in the game, and even if you don't want to use him, his paralogue provides your army with some much needed gold. Arthur is reflective of Fates as a whole, flawed, exaggerated, and sometimes frustrating, but also deeply rewarding if you engage with its mechanics. He's a unit that challenges you to think about the risk and potential payoff, and if you give him the chance, he delivers. The final unit we'll be talking about today is Caspar. Caspar is, in many ways, the black sheep of the Black Eagles. His early game is rocky, his bases are unimpressive, and in a house filled with talents like Edelgard, Linhardt, and Dorothea, he sometimes feels like an afterthought. But Caspar's growths tell another story. Despite his low speed, his strength growth is excellent. His path through Grappler and Warmaster unlocks a few powerful combat arts and quick riposte, transforming him into a late-game monster. He becomes one of the most reliable boss killers in the game with Warmaster Strike, and his crit potential goes absolutely through the roof in the late game. Once he has access to the Warmaster and a set of Killer Knuckles Plus, Caspar can equip the skill Wrath to increase his base crit chance to a whopping 90%. Caspar may struggle early on, but the payoff for training him is one of the most satisfying things in any Fire Emblem: non-stop crits. Caspar is a reminder that strength isn't always immediately clear with units. Sometimes, it's something they can grow into. And that's our list. Every character we discussed today occupies a strange space in the Fire Emblem canon. They aren't icons, they aren't fan favorites, but each of them demonstrates a truth about the series. That value isn't always obvious, that effectiveness can come from places we don't expect, and that sometimes the most memorable units are the ones you almost ignored. They may be underrated, they may be overlooked, but they're worth a second glance. And perhaps that's the real lesson Fire Emblem gives us. Not just about who's strong or weak, but about looking deeper, finding potential, and giving even the unassuming a chance to shine. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and click the bell if you'd like to get notified when I post a new video. A special thank you to my patron 60 Sweep and Gorilla Danny for subscribing at the Paladin tier. I'd really appreciate if you checked out the links in the description if you can, but otherwise, have a great rest of your day.